So, we can all agree Sky High Sundae is kind of a strange course, right? First added to Mario Kart 8 Deluxe in Wave 2 of the BCP to some fanfare, and later added to Mario Kart Tour as basically an empty shell of its former self. And now it's back in Mario Kart World. Practically everything about this course's existence just feels a little bit strange, and I do have a theory that, at least in my brain, makes all that strangeness make sense. I think that Sky High Sundae was made for Mario Kart World, and then backported into Mario Kart 8 Deluxe and Mario Kart Tour because they needed an extra course for the BCP. I know this might sound insane, but just hear me out, because I actually have a lot of pretty good reasoning here. First, let's just talk about the course itself. Layout-wise, it's fairly simple, literally just an oval, although admittedly it took me a while to actually realize that, but World has added so much to it that it really plays very differently. From what we've seen, no other retro track has been given this much integration with all the new mechanics, besides maybe N64 Wario Stadium, but that's a 30-year-old track that needed whatever it could get. We've got all sorts of rails all over the track, a good amount of walls to ride on, and they feel completely natural too. Sometimes when they bring in older courses with new gimmicks, it feels a bit forced, but Sky High Sundae, at least from what I've seen, I haven't played the game yet, because it's not out, but from what I've seen, Sky High Sundae looks completely natural with these new gimmicks, and in fact, the original had rails too, but they just kind of acted as anti-gravity spin boosters. Let's talk about that for a second. Yeah, the anti-gravity is the entire reason the course is good in 8 Deluxe, but it was also so obviously thrown on there last minute. And don't even get me started about how awful this course felt with no gimmick at all in Tour. I would argue it was almost to the same level that Mario Kart DS downgraded some of its retros. Meanwhile, in Mario Kart World, those random guardrails that just kind of felt weird in Mario Kart 8, proper grind rails now. They're sort of embedded into the ground or turned into their own split path, but they actually serve a purpose now. And the entire middle section where it's just kind of, oh yeah, low gravity jumping between all these floating platforms, feels a lot more fleshed out with, some proper alternate paths and even a new shortcut. Point being, they have done so much to this course than, again, most other retros, and I think that's because they don't consider it one. Just a small point to talk about here before we get to the next big one, music. Practically every other retro in this game has gotten some very heavily remixed music, like just to name a few, SNES Koopa Beach is now all electro, Choco Mountain is all rock, but Sky High Sundae, it's practically indistinguishable from the Mario Kart 8 Deluxe version. And yeah, I know there were a couple songs back in Mario Kart 8 that didn't really change their music at all, like Grumble Volcano or DK Jungle, but there was still some noticeable difference. Sky High Sundae, from what we've heard of its music, and comparing it to the Mario Kart 8 version, there does not seem to be any differences. We've even had quite a few of Mario Kart 8's own tracks get new versions of music that are seemingly just for free roam. Just name a few, we have Toad Harbor, Shy Guy Falls, Wii U Bowser's Castle, Wild Woods, and 2 variations of Sunshine Airport, but you're telling me that Sky High Sundae, the course that's, an actual playable course, doesn't get new music? Just seems off. I will say though, this point comes based just off of the demo treehouse footage that we've seen, so, there's a chance that music is just a placeholder, but given that we've heard new versions of the songs for every other retro in those same demos, I highly doubt it's just a placeholder. I think it's just the exact same song again. Now let's talk about the strangeness of this course's selection for World. Ever since Wii, Nintendo's been doing what the community has decided to call priority retros, aka the retro tracks from the previous game. In Wii, there were some odd picks. I'm not sure why Desert Hills and Yoshi Falls were important enough to come back, but, the other two were fan favorites. And that also applies to all of the Wii tracks that were in Mario Kart 7, and all of the 3DS tracks that were in Base 8 and the Wii U DLC, and most of the BCP. So you'd think the next game would have at least a couple of Wii U fan favorites, right? Like, come on, where's Dolphin Shoals, Shy Guy Falls, Cloudtop Cruise, Toad Harbor, Sunshine Airport, Super Bell Subway, just naming a few, and I think all but those first two would work perfectly in World, both due to not being super reliant on anti-gravity, and I think those would be fairly easy to translate into an open world, but no. The only course we get to represent the entire past decade of Mario Kart, encompassing 8, Tour, and the BCP, is High Sundae? I feel like this is even weirder than if we just didn't get anything, considering it's just one course that wasn't even super well liked. If that sole representative was, say, Piranha Plant Pipeline, at least that would make sense on account of it not being in the BCP, but I don't know, High Sundae was in the BCP, wasn't super popular, and now it's the only representative the past decade? It's just an incredibly strange decision. We know there's already other things they ignored with this game, like, you know, there's no GBA tracks here either. So who's to say they weren't initially planning on fully ignoring 8, Tour, and the BCP as well? And in the time that I've been working on this video, we actually got a developer interview about Mario Kart World, and it turns out development on this thing predates Mario Kart Tour. So there is a very high chance that they didn't consider Mario Kart Tour or the BCP at all when selecting World's courses, which makes some of the repeats like Mario Circuit 3 and Choco Mountain feel a little bit less strange now, but if they weren't considering Tour or the BCP at all, that raises the question, why is High Sundae here? And just to end off the theory here, I have one smaller point, because this one does kind of apply to basically every retro in the game, but I thought I'd mention it anyways because might as well, we're still talking about High Sundae here. This course has gotten a massive aesthetic overhaul. While yes, it is still just the ice cream course, it is now the ice cream course. The starting line area has been changed from just a kind of generic freezer to now the inside of a giant ice cream cone. The previously just kind of basic pastel blue road is now more of a waffle cone texture, which is nice. And a lot of the earlier mentioned gameplay changes also have some nice visuals with them, such as there now being actual off-road on the course, and said off-road being just kind of some chocolate chips on the road. They have just gone fully all in with the aesthetic in this version of the course, and I really enjoy that. The original was just kind of, yeah, we've got some ice cream stuff in the background. Here, though, it is right in your face on the course. And I will say, I enjoy High Sundae in Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. I think it's a fine track there, but here in World, it just looks complete. Like this is what it was always meant to be. And you know what? They even made it a Toadette track, which, good for her, it's about time. She was introduced to the series in Mario Kart Double Dash. I don't know why it took them this long to actually give her a track. Anyways, that's what I've got. Just like my Mushroom City was meant for the BCP theory from a while back, a lot of the evidence for this is just kind of circumstantial or just vibe-based, but when you look at all these pieces together, it really does start to add up, doesn't it? When I first came up with this theory, I know, a lot of people thought I was insane for thinking this, but more recently I've seen people actually considering this to be true. So let me know down in the comments below. Are you guys like me who have always believed in this theory? Were you maybe on the fence and this video convinced you that it's true, or do you still think I'm insane for believing this? At the end of the day, I highly doubt Nintendo will ever confirm whether or not this is true. This is just for fun. And hey, if you guys are watching this video right when it came out, chances are I am currently live over at twitch.tv/Pokemichael doing a bit of a farewell marathon stream for Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. And of course, all day Thursday and maybe some of Friday and the rest of this weekend as well, I'm going to be streaming Mario Kart World, so feel free to stop by and say hi. But that's all for me for today. Remember to like and subscribe, and I will see you guys next time.